Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters Net podcast. I'm your host Brian, and joining me today is a special guest hailing from South Dakota, Jeffrey Plemmons. How you doing, brother?
All right, buddy. How you doing?
Not too bad. And he's part of the, I guess, what would you describe your genre of music? The kind of struck me as like soft rock.
Um, I've actually been told that it kind of resembles like early '90s grunge almost, but I don't know. I would more call it just alternative rock because I can't really think of anything else to call it. It's kind of a mixture of different different things.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, the band is called Letters from Saints, which especially doesn't get his letter from a raven, if we know the Game of Thrones reference.
Right.
So, how you been recently? What's new, brother?
Not a whole lot, man. Just working on music, as usual. I was actually thinking about taking a break from recording, for a little while to work on some live stuff. But I don't know, man. I can't stay out of the studio. Like I always have something to work on, like I'm always jotting down lyrics or coming up with a cool little riff and I'm like, oh, that'd make a good song, so I just sit down and start working on it. And before you know, I'm right back at it.
Yeah, I know that feeling too. It always feels like, there's a passion involved. It's going to probably get you up out of bed and sleepwalk right to the studio. So,
Oh, for sure.
that's all good. So we'll get to your music in just a little bit here too. But Jeff, I want to welcome you to the podcast, and I kind of wish we got your wife on here too. But I guess how's she doing before we jump into the
Uh,
questions?
it's good. Just getting ready for work, actually. Yeah, she's, I don't know, not much of a talker. So she, I don't know, a whole issue with using different, uh, devices and everything. It just, I don't know, it got complicated. So she was like, you do your thing.
Yeah, fair enough too. And actually, which part of South Dakota are you hailing from? Are you close to Bismarck or Pierre?
I'm in Madison, actually. It's probably 45 minutes, like northwest of Sioux Falls, if you know where that's at.
I've not been there, but I do know about Sioux Falls. Yeah, so
Yep.
it would be nice to get out
Uh,
there. So,
it's a small town. It's quiet. It's nice.
perfect spot for a musician to jam out and everything too, without the neighbors complaining. So,
Oh, for sure.
all right, sounds good. So, Jeff, I want to welcome you to my podcast right here. So, the way this is going to work is I'm going to ask you some questions. Let's get to know you more, both as the musician, but also as the individual too. So, you ready?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So, start with the first one right here. Uh, tell us about yourself. I guess how did you become a musician and get to Letters from Saints?
Well, I actually started writing music when I was a kid. I was thinking about this last night. I remember the first song I ever wrote. I don't know how old I was. I couldn't have been more than like 10. Um, Believe it or not, it was actually a little rap song. Um, I think it had something to do with like Cadillacs or something like that, man. It was just off the wall. But when I was, I don't know, probably 13, 14, somewhere in there, my dad actually bought me my first acoustic guitar. And, as the story goes, Smoke on the Water was uh, my first song I ever learned to, well, halfway learn to play. And then not long after that, I bought my first electric, and Sweet Dreams by Marilyn Manson was, uh, yeah, that was hands down probably my favorite song at the time. So I learned that pretty quick. I got a lot of musical influence from my dad. Um, he actually brought me up on like AC/DC and REO Speedwagon and Scorpions and things like that. Boston. Uh, yeah, he definitely introduced me to music at an early age, so I got to thank him for that. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I've kind of been living the the rock star's dream, I guess. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll for ever. But unfortunately, for most of my life, I was focused a little more on the sex and the drugs than the rock and roll. So, uh, yeah, same tragic story of a rambling man, I guess. Um, I actually grew up in Florida. I moved to South Dakota in 2018, and doing the same old stuff. I got into some trouble, and I don't know, man. While I was away, I actually came up with the idea for Letters from Saints, because I was with a previous band before this, um, out of Marion, South Dakota, actually, and we did okay. And then, I got into some trouble, and I was like, I need to do something different. So, I don't know. I got my act together, and I had this idea for a music project. And as soon as I got home, I got a jump start on it, and I don't know, here we are.
Yeah, the good old-fashioned story, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean. We'll get into that just a little bit too, but it's funny when you talk about the lyrics, when you talk about it as a kid, for instance, because I was sort of the same way. Of course, my lyrics, they didn't make any sense, and I think I was pulling too much ideas from, like, bands I was listening to, like Linkin Park, for instance.
Yep.
And so you're not really going anywhere with that, but it was at least a start, to be honest. So,
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I've always had like a almost a poetic nature. Like I observe and pay attention to everything, and I'm always like, I'll make a comment about something, and I'll be like, oh, that'd make a good song lyric, or just jot it down and throw some music to it, and got a song.
and then I mentioned your dad.
Like,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
it's just the creativity, like, is always flowing, whether I wanted to or not.
Yeah, I know that feeling too. And sorry, I was going to ask about your dad too, because was he the ones that was always collecting those vinyls and everything too?
Yes, as a matter of fact, he had this box of just old records that he had bought, over the years growing up, that he gave to me quite a few years ago. Unfortunately, the house that they were in back home burned down probably about a year ago or so. So those records are no more. But no, it was definitely cool to have that original, sound,
That's very tragic. Sorry to hear that there, mate. So
life happens,
sadly, yeah. But I guess how come you ended up in the sex and the drugs and everything too? Was it just hitting rock bottom at certain points in your life?
Well, not to get into a, sad, sappy, story or anything, but like I said, it's, the old tragic story. Like, I am actually a recovering addict and alcoholic, like, by definition. I said I've been playing music since I was about 13 or 14, but I've also been drinking, using, and partying for just as long. And I don't know, it's just something that I couldn't escape no matter how hard I tried. It's definitely a tough thing to do, but I was actually blessed in a way. A lot of people don't like to talk about these kind of things, but I did go to prison for a couple years, just because that lifestyle, I guess, finally caught up with me. And I don't know, man. I think just something that drastic is what it took for me to finally realize, like, hey, I need to do something different because this isn't working. So, I did my time and I got out, and I just, like, right away I started working on music. I mean, the whole time I was writing and coming up with ideas and playing and everything. I actually played bass in a church band while I was in, just to to stay up with it, and be involved in music because that was the only way I could. But that actually turned out, again, another blessing for me because it kind of opened my eyes to different things and I don't know, just made me see things a little differently. And yeah, like I said, I got home and got started on it right away and been working full time on top of that, since then. I actually, at my job, I just became a production supervisor. So that's a pretty cool thing, but completely irrelevant. Yeah, it's crazy how things play out.
Yeah, that's for sure too. It's good to see you are doing well, mate. Good to have you back out in the music scene here. So
For sure, thank you.
I know it wasn't easy trying to tell the story too, but I think it's best to share it too, so people can see maybe a darker side of what people have gone through in their lives. So thank you for sharing that.
For sure. Yep.
All right. So I guess let's go ahead and talk about Letters from Saints too. So it's day one. You start jumping into it too. I guess how'd you come up with the name, and I guess elaborate anything else on it too.
Actually, that kind of falls back into the fact that, I see, my experience as a blessing. Like some people think like, oh no, I have to go away for a little while. My life is over. And I actually thought that at first, like that's definitely how I felt. Nobody wants to go to prison. But it definitely turned out to be a blessing because I I know this might turn a lot of people off, but I believe in God. I believe that, someone saved me from myself for sure. So I started reading the Bible more. Not trying to push that on anyone by any means, but I actually came up with the name Letters from Saints. It's a biblical reference. How do I explain this? It's kind of like you think about the New Testament where like all the apostles and everything are like writing these letters and telling the stories of what's happening and what's going on. And I was like, I don't know, I just started thinking about it. I was like, that'd be a cool band name, Letters from Saints. And I started drawing like these little logos and everything, and it just kind of stuck.
Yeah, I see what you mean too. And it's okay to actually say like what your beliefs are too. So and actually
Sure.
the way you kind of describe it too, it's almost like more of letters from St. Paul, or there's actually been a couple with St. Peter, which I've actually been more of a big churchgoer the last couple of years. So at least gotten used to seeing all the second readings that will always talk about one of those letters. So I see what you mean too. So I guess what's your lyrical content about? Do you try to maybe do it from your perspective about what you went through?
As a matter of fact, yeah, you pretty much hit it on the head. Most of what I write is basically telling my story and my experience with, the drugs, the alcohol, the women, the partying, all of that. Just trying to relate because music has always been, a godsend in my life. Like music has gotten me through so much. And I've always said that I want to be able to do the same thing for, anybody else who might be, going through a hard time or struggling, So the fact that I can, write that down into a song, excuse me, and, share it with, everyone and, hope that one of my songs might reach somebody who is going through a tough time and be like, maybe things aren't so bad. So that's mostly what my songs are about. There are also a couple fun ones, and they're like Sellout is one, and TikTok fans. They're more fun, kind of comical, but they still have some deeper meaning behind them if you really listen to the words, But yeah, that's pretty much what it's about.
I was actually listening to a couple last night in order to do my own little studying about you and everything else, as well as like study what his music is.
For
So,
sure.
did you jump around with various genres at first, whenever you were trying to first craft your music, or did you just kind of stick with this alternative rock style?
For me, it's definitely always been rock. Like, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's in my blood. I don't know. Like I said, the first song I ever wrote when I was a kid was a rap song, but God knows I'm not a rapper. um, I have a variety of influences, man. Anywhere from, like, I'd say the old rock, like, I was brought up on like REO Speedwagon, um, Boston, Scorpions, things like that, all the way up to, 3 Days Grace, Marilyn Manson, even over to country like Brantley Gilbert and different things like that. Um, so, I mean, you can kind of hear it in the music, I guess. It's like every new song that I write is almost experimental. Like I'm like, well, I'm kind of feeling this vibe, so I'm gonna see if I can incorporate that somehow, and I don't know, just see how it turns out.
It's funny
But
we mentioned about alternative music because I always think of like Story of the Year, and then maybe it's more of those later ones from like the '90s and early 2000s. Four Letter Lie, those ones who do like a little bit of screamo though, but also have like the clean vocals playing at the same
yeah,
time.
for sure. But yeah, it's definitely it all comes down to rock and roll.
That's for sure. Yeah. So I guess talk about influences too. So sorry to bring you back into the dark side here, but I guess how bad
Oh, you're
did
good,
COVID
man.
how bad did COVID impact you? Because it seemed like you're only there in 2018, and then all of a sudden you kind of go into COVID next. So I guess it's one thing after another. So go ahead.
Right. No, at the time that all that was happening, I wasn't quite as involved in music. I guess you could say I was kind of taking a break from it, just because I was so caught up in, my own addictions, and I was working full time and in and out of treatment and rehab, and actually, funny story with COVID. I'd just gotten out of treatment, and I went back to work. I was a manager at my job at the time, um, and then COVID hit. So everything shut down. Everybody got laid off and everything. I had actually just bought a brand new Schecter Diamond Series guitar. It was purple, man. It was beautiful. Got a new amp and everything. So I was like, I can take this time to kind of focus on writing and whatever. Well, unfortunately, that's not how it turned out. I actually ended up relapsing. Just, I don't know. I guess it was an excuse. Like, oh no, I'm not working. There's no, AA meetings or anything like that to go to. So what am I gonna do? Let me go, get drunk. And yeah, that that didn't turn out too well. That's actually how I ended up getting into trouble and taking my little vacation, so to speak. Um, so musically, I guess it didn't really affect anything too much because I was already kind of taking a break from that, but it definitely impacted my life and the way things would turn out later. Um, so kind of tragic, but all in all, in the end, I think it turned out for the better.
Yeah, that's for sure too. And came out bigger and stronger, all better too.
For sure.
Actually, how did you and your wife meet?
Um, Actually, that's kind of a funny, well, I guess it kind of a funny story. I don't believe in like online dating or anything like that, but we actually met on Meet Me. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. We're just I think I created an account just because I was bored and I was like, oh, let's see what's going on here. And I don't know. We just ended up talking, and I was like, wait, you're a real person? Because I don't know, on those sites and apps, like it's a lot of just bots, I guess you call them. And I don't know, I was surprised to actually be talking to a real person, and I don't know, we kind of hit it off. And I said I was with a band at the time, and she came out to one of our practices, and we hung out, and I don't know, just she got kind of involved with that, like doing the photography and the video and promoting and stuff. So she's definitely been a blessing. She's always been actively involved in the music. But yeah, since we met, pretty much, we just got closer and closer, and then I went away again, got into some trouble. Same old story. And yeah, she was there like the entire time when most everybody else just dropped off. And yeah, I don't know, man. I came home and we just decided to get married and have a life. So here we are.
That's there, mate. Good on you. Good to see she stuck around too. You're all right.
Mhm.
I think anytime they know their husband's going off to jail for something, normally that's the breaking point right there. So it's good to see she stuck around. So good woman.
For sure.
Good woman.
Absolutely.
I should say good catch for you too. That's a good thing.
Oh yeah.
All right, that's all cool. So, and did you have any brushes with COVID?
I actually, believe it or not, I was set to release from prison. I think I was about 2 weeks from the door, and I ended up catching it. So I ended up, me and like a few other people ended up going into quarantine, and I was freaking out, thinking like, oh my God, like what if this like affects me, getting out or whatever. But fortunately, we went through quarantine and everything was fine and dandy, and I got out and everything. So that was cool. I don't know. For me, I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just like a bad head cold or like a sinus infection or something. But I don't know. It kind of sucked. uh, yeah.
I would say no, it's a little bit more than that, and I can attest to it because me and my parents, we went to Nashville for one of our trips, and it was actually September. It was late September, so it starts to. Actually, no, it was October. That's right. It was before Halloween. So obviously it's a little bit cooler down there. It was still pretty good, but it's a little bit cooler than what it probably normally is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're bar hopping on Broadway, seeing all the cover bands and drinking and eating and all that stuff, they tend to find somebody who's probably carrying it or something like that.
Yeah.
It started with my dad, and then he passed it on to me. I tried hopping on my drum set just to try to sweat it out, and I just couldn't do it. I was that fatigued. Actually,
Yeah.
I woke up with a fever too, so I had to put on my sweatpants and everything, and then just bundle up. Really, I had to like live in a partial cocoon, to be honest. When you think about it.
Yeah. No, I was fortunate, man. Like, I don't know. I don't think I ever actually like broke out in a fever or anything like that. For me, it was all in my in my head, basically. It just, I don't know. It felt like a really bad sinus infection. Like I had a headache and my face hurt. And I think I had a little cough, but yeah, that was about it. So fortunately, it wasn't too bad.
That's good to hear. It's good to see you guys made it through too. So, was your wife okay too? She didn't have any brushes with it?
No, I don't think so.
That's good to hear. All right.
Yeah,
Have you guys
for
along
sure.
for the ride. And congratulations. Getting out of prison and being sober there, mate. So,
Thank you, man.
God bless you.
It's definitely been a ride.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I know that feeling too. It's the withdrawal and then I guess that temptation to go back into it, especially when life gets frozen lemons, to say the least. So,
For sure.
all right. Let's get back into the music a little bit too. So, I noticed a bass guitar and I
Yes.
see a guitar on the other side there too. So,
Oh,
I guess go
yeah.
ahead. So go ahead and talk about your gear first. So let's start with the guitar, bass, and then I guess what do you use for your recording production?
Okay. Well, I actually have let's see if I can bring it out here. I got everything so messed up right now. Anyway, my Jackson 6-string. Come on, see that? This is my baby right here. This is, I don't know. Generally, that's where the music starts, and we'll get more into that. Got the Mitchell bass here, just 4-string. I probably should have cleaned up in here a little bit before we started this thing, but just simple little bass, but it packs a punch for sure. And then as far as recording, I don't have anything fancy just yet because it's still kind of fresh. I do have the mics and the stands. I have the Epiphone acoustic, which actually I bought when I was in prison. Yeah, I was amazed to find out that you could actually buy like guitars and stuff. So that was definitely on the top of the to-do list. So I saved and saved and saved, and yeah. Honestly, I'm still not sure how to pronounce it. Harbinger. Got a couple speakers. Have the Ibanez amp for the 6-string. The Fender for the bass. As far as recording, like I said, it's nothing fancy. I actually use BandLab. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that. So it's a start, but for right now it works. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Definitely working on getting more, but that's, bills have to be paid. It takes time.
Yeah, that's for sure too. Actually, I've not heard of BandLab. I think maybe a little bit, but
No.
I think I've been used to more of the bigger ones too because, I guess first off, are you a Windows or a Mac guy?
Definitely Windows.
Okay, well, I use Logic, and that's more strictly for the Apple products too. But that was the cheapest one I could find. Whenever you got it with a Apple computer too. But I know a lot of people have mentioned about Reaper. One had Cubase. Not sure if some people use GarageBand, but I think GarageBand's also just strictly an Apple product too. So I guess, do you have your eyes set on one in particular, or are you just gonna weigh your options?
I'll probably look at my options. I don't know. I actually used to use I don't know if you've heard of it, Audacity. It's like just music editing software, basically a studio on your computer. That was decent. I don't know if you've heard of Fruity Loops, I think it's called. I know a lot of I don't know if like real professional like artists use it, but I hear that's a pretty good one. I don't know, just I have to do some shopping around.
I think I have heard of Fruity Loops. I'm not too familiar like how to use it, but I think I've heard the name. And then what was the other one you mentioned? It was the
Audacity.
Audacity, yeah, that was the free one. And
Yep.
actually, an uncle of mine told me about that. I gotta wait. I can't weigh my options too, but I think you're right. It's okay. Maybe good for like startups and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like it was decent, but I think furthering like music production and everything and writing and recording, would definitely need something, I don't know, a little more reliable, I guess.
was do you use the man cave, or is there a specific secret room you got?
So the room that we are in actually, started as my wife's art room. Like she does painting and stuff like that. And when I came home, we kind of halfway converted it into a recording studio. So it's kind of both. We make it work.
I've heard some people like build like makeshift sheds, like they'll put in the back there, and that's just strictly for like audio recording and stuff like that too. Or they've done it with teaching, and I guess think one drummer I interviewed recently had like a little vocal booth. It's like his own little separate studio and everything too. So
We uh we actually have this closet. Oh, it's not really a closet. I think it used to be because it's an old house. I think it was built in like the early 1900s. So it's been renovated quite a few times. But there is one room in the hall that I want to say it used to be a bathroom or a bedroom or something. But it's the perfect size for a vocal booth. And one of my projects, well, one of many that I have in mind is converting it into a vocal booth. So that'd be kind of cool. Like it's small enough, but it's big enough to be comfortable, and the acoustics are like even without like soundproofing or insulation or anything. I don't know. It sounds good in there. So that's that's definitely one goal I have in mind. Just busy, So I try to prioritize and make things work.
it's on our New Year's resolution for this year, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, everything else just gets in the way. So I know that feeling. Trust me. That's why don't make promises you can't keep. So
Right. So every time we have an idea for something, I'm just like, all right, add it to the list.
nice long list before you know it. It's like Jimmy
Oh,
Christmas.
yeah.
What are we gonna do here? So
Right. Like I don't even know where to start. Let's just sell the place.
hey, we'll get a nice penny out of it too. So
Yeah.
actually, I do mine because I did a couple collaborations with a friend of mine. We do ours, or I do my vocals in here, which is a nice little closet underneath the stairs. So it comes in handy.
Nice.
So it's all good.
That works.
Did you mention what microphones you had? I don't know if you mentioned it during when you were talking about everything.
A lot of people might laugh at this, but I actually bought the Harbinger speakers and microphones together as a set. So they are Harbinger mics, but they're decent. They work, for live. I wouldn't call myself the greatest singer in the world, so I actually I broke down and bought. Honestly, I'm not even sure how to pronounce it. The TC Helicon duplicator pedal for live performing, just to give my vocals a little more oomph, I guess you could say. So it's not so bland. Yeah, that's what I'm working with right now. Like I said, definitely more to come in the future.
I was about to say join the club. I mean, I'm not really a great singer anywhere, but that's why I stick with metal, to be honest, to see where that goes too. So
I suppose.
I guess how is the music scene out where you are? Is there a good number of pubs where you live, or do you have to go to more of the big cities in order to play any live concerts?
Honestly, the real music scene is probably in Sioux Falls, which, like I said, is about 45 minutes from here. Madison itself is a pretty small town. Like I actually, I'm struggling to find other musicians to join this little, project. But we actually went and saw Judd Hoos, the band, at a little bar over here called Four Corners. I want to say it was last Saturday. So, I mean, they do have some events. They also have the Brick House, which has some like smaller, like little acoustic sets, But that's about the extent of it. So, being in a small town, trying to evolve and grow musically is kind of a challenge, but I don't know, I guess it works,
Somehow it still works too. So I guess are they doing more of like covers sort of things, or they try to do their own original material and this little corner of the town you're talking about?
Who is that?
I guess anyone who plays at the Brick House and that Four Corners you had talked about earlier.
I am honestly impressed and surprised to see that most of the acts do original music. That's always cool to see and hear. Like I said, previous bands that I've been in, they tend to do more covers than anything. Don't get me wrong, I love playing other people's music. And I know it's a good way to, draw in a crowd. But I don't know, man. For me, it's more about getting your own stuff out there, telling your story. So, yeah, most of what I've seen, they do play original music, and that's definitely a cool thing to see.
That's a big plus too. I think people tend to get a little, I won't say annoyed, but I guess maybe bored if you're just playing Wagon Wheel and those sorts of covers the whole time as well.
Yeah.
So, it's unfortunate, but I think you got to start somewhere too. So.
Oh, for sure.
I think you mentioned earlier, did you say you played in some cover bands when you initially started off?
Yeah, I've been in a few where that's, a majority of the set list is covers. We might throw, one or two original songs in there, which was cool at the time. It was a good experience. It was good practice, and just getting comfortable and familiar with being on stage and performing in front of a crowd and everything. Like I said, as I'm growing and evolving, like musically, I don't know. Like I said, for me, it's about getting out there and presenting yourself and telling your story. And I don't know. I guess that's a little more important to me.
Yeah, but I think you always got to start somewhere too. So I think it's okay.
For sure.
In the beginning, at least. So at least that way you get your hands dirty and everything too. So
for sure. Like I said, it was definitely a learning experience. So.
That's cool. And I guess, have you done any sort of live shows yet in your neck of the woods, or go to Sioux Falls or anything?
I have not yet. To be 100% honest with you, I actually just got home in September. So I pretty much hit the ground running. I've been working and writing and recording and just trying to keep this thing, flowing. And like I said, I've been trying to take a break from recording to practice some live stuff. I don't know. We'll kind of see where that goes. Because like I said, right now, just as a one-man band, basically, it's so the music that I post, you said you've listened to a couple of them. There are a lot of different layers there, a lot of dynamics. So trying to basically simplify that into like a little acoustic set or something, it's kind of a challenge, but I'm just basically messing around with it, trying to see what works and what sounds good and what I think people might like. So there are definitely some live events in the future. Don't know when yet, but we're working on it.
Does your wife help out too in terms of the recording, or does she pitch in any vocals in your songs?
She does. In Angels Calling, our latest release, she actually sang on the chorus and threw in a couple filler lines. So that was pretty cool. Aside from that, she is definitely my number one fan, my biggest supporter. Always promoting and sharing and, all that. So it's pretty cool. She's definitely my rock.
That's for sure. Also helps build your foundation as well.
Yes.
Does she also do all the social media and everything with YouTube, Facebook, and everything?
A little bit. Honestly, I know it sounds really bad to say, but I guess in in this sense, I'm kind of a control freak. So even when she does try, I just kind of take over. um, Kind of ashamed to admit it, but it is what it is.
I'd say micromanaging can be a bad thing, you know.
Yeah.
So let's try to break that habit a little bit. But I guess is there something you hope to achieve with your music and social media as well?
Honestly, right now my goal is just to, put the music out there and try to reach as many people as I can. Honestly, just hope that the songs might reach somebody that needs to hear them. And I don't know, if I can make one person's day just a little bit better, then I think I'm doing all right.
That's for sure too. I think that's the most rewarding thing as well. When somebody tells you like, maybe the more deeper ones is like your music saved my life or something like that too, or like your music changed me. So that's what you mean. I guess what's been the challenges you face being a musician?
Um, well, like I said, for one, being in a small town, it's kind of hard to um, find other musicians to actually bring this thing together as a band. So that's definitely one. And then for me, I don't know, like music is in my soul, man. Like it's just, I don't know, it's what I am. So trying to balance, the music and the work life and the home life and everything is I don't want to say it's a struggle, but it can be overwhelming sometimes. But I don't know, man. It's just I don't know. It was put in my heart for a reason, I think, and I feel like one day it might pay off. So we'll see.
One would hope. So let's keep it going there, mate. So, and was it you or your wife that joined the Bandicoot group? Because I think that's where I found you, and I think you had commented on one of my posts I put up.
Which one?
I wish I could remember. The group is Band Together, the one that Christina and Greg from Vox and Sticks put together.
Yep.
So wasn't sure if that was you or your wife that joined the group and did that sort of social media.
I know that I've been a part of that group for probably a few months now. I think she might have actually ended up joining in more recently. Yeah, I honestly, at this point with social media, it's it's kind of hard to keep up. But I don't know, it was one of us.
Yeah, you're in line with social media. It's a double-edged sword because one side does promote your music. That's what you were kind of talking about earlier. So it allows you to share your story. At the same time, it kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier with fake bots on like that dating site, for instance.
Yeah.
You get plenty of those bots.
Oh man, I tell you, almost every day. And I know a few other artists on there that I network with have said the same thing about these like promoters constantly messaging about, oh, I can increase your streams and your likes and your follows for X amount of dollars. And I'm just like, just stop. Like it's constant, man. It gets old, but there's a delete button for a reason.
Is that too? But I think a message should be like, if you want to promote my music, just do it.
Yeah, I've actually said that a few times. Like, if you want to share posts and share links to the songs or whatever, feel free. But I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. Like, I don't know.
It's like,
I actually go ahead.
I was gonna say, does this car scream $1 million baby to you, that guy?
Right. I would say honestly, at first, when I started getting into social media and trying to just network as much as I could and try to connect with people, I almost fell for it a couple times. And then I realized just, no, this just isn't right. So, and then of course, as things started, growing and started connecting with more people, and, my music started getting out there more, I just, like I said, almost every day, getting something like, oh, I saw you on Spotify or YouTube or Facebook, and you're doing great, but you could use some promotion or, whatever. And I'm just like, delete. I don't even entertain it anymore. I think we have a pretty awesome network of artists and musicians supporting each other, and that's like the coolest thing ever, man. Because like, I don't know, you'd think that all these bands are like, no, like I'm trying to promote my stuff, I want to do better, forget you or whatever. But it's cool to see everybody supporting each other and promoting each other's music and stuff. So I think, and of course, people like you and I think it's Paul Harwood, and just different people like that who actually take interest in, what the artists are doing and, put it out there.
I mean, there's a fair amount of musicians because I know Greg Oliver, he also puts those playlists together. And I think same with Nod Ferris, aka Dave Compton. Shout out to both those guys, by the way. They do the whole playlist and everything too. You said Hardwick, right? Was that the guy's name you just mentioned?
Harwood?
Harwood.
Yep.
I was going to say, I don't think I've seen any posts from him yet. I don't know. Is he a part of the group as well?
I'm not sure if he's with Band Together. I think he actually is an admin for. Honestly, I feel really horrible right now. I can't think of the name of the group. I think it's Independent Artists and Promotions or something along those lines. But yeah, between him, who was it? I don't know if you've heard of the Dukester podcast family. They're always promoting and putting playlists together. Trying to think of who else. Just, different people like that who, like I said, take interest and want to see all of these artists, succeed is just the coolest thing ever. So.
Yeah, what they're doing is great. Yeah, I actually did reach out to Duke Star podcast in order to try to get him on as well because it was more Greg Oliver because he asked me a couple of questions like, what makes your podcast special, why people listen to it. So, and when I put it up, or at least I put a post up on Facebook, I want to be like, why do you listen to my podcast? So I think one of the things was people wanted to also hear like my backstory and everything else with like interacting with like these other podcast shows like Duke Star. I think it's Kelsash Music. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Sorry, Kim.
Honestly, I'm not sure how to pronounce it either, but yes, they also do an awesome job at putting it out there.
That's for sure too. And yeah, I know what you mean too about those posts. I think it's more on Instagram. I think now it's a little bit now on LinkedIn as well. So I know what you mean too. So and we're really trying to refrain from using profanity on this episode.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean too. So that's all good, you mate. Avoid those promoters.
Yeah. So for anybody who watches this, definitely don't fall for it.
I would say the most frustrating one is when it's like those media marketers. When you do see, I see it more on Facebook and anything too, and it annoys the hell out of me. And sadly, I do the same thing too. I just ignore it. So, like one time I did look it up, be like, is this a scam or is this pretty legit? And
right, so, like if they present it well enough, like I'll ask, like, are you serious? Like, is this a scam? Like, at this point, I just ask them straight out, is this a scam? And then you can tell, at this point, like, especially like you said, when they're, social media marketers, and then you go to look at their page and they have like 2 followers or something like that. It is, I'm gonna have to say no.
Have a good day, sir. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thank you, but no thank you.
I know you can kind of consider this for the next question here, I guess. In terms of advice that you give to musicians, both in any music community and our own on Facebook there, I guess, what advice would you give outside of this whole thing with watching these fake promoters?
Yeah. Well, for one, yeah, definitely don't fall for the fake promoters. No, honestly, I think my best advice would be just don't give up. No matter how hard you might be struggling or whatever you're going through, if you think that, it's going nowhere, if you're seriously passionate about it and you want to succeed in music or anything in life, really, you just work hard and put it out there and connect with the right people, and eventually it will pay off. I mean, I'm definitely not at, the top or anything or even close, but compared to, I'd say, where I've been, um, I'm definitely taking a step in the right direction. There are many, many, many times, even, recently, where I'm just like, why am I even doing this? Like, what's the point? No one's listening, no one likes it, whatever. Don't give up. It will pay off.
Absolutely, too. So that's not going to miss their journey they're made. So, and before we jump into the fun questions right here, if you want to promote any music right now or any music you recently released, let's hear it. What you got?
Well, okay. Like I said, the latest release is Angels Calling. It's a darker song. Basically, it's I took myself back to a point in time where I was just strung out, just lost. And I wrote it from that perspective in hopes to maybe reach somebody who's still in that place, and realize, hey, like, I'm not the only one who's ever felt this way. And then maybe just find a little bit of hope in that. Before that, honestly, I think the song that seems to be doing the best right now is Setting Hearts on Fire. It was different for me. Just the whole vibe of it. Like, it's a little darker at first, kind of slow, but then, it just jumps into this cool, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Just it's got a cool flow, I think. People seem to like it. Actually, just in the last 2 days, I think, 2 or 3 days. Who was it? On the Air Tonight with Brandon and Dave aired it on their show. And then this morning, actually, Kitra from a Rocky Mountain Rage show on Rock Rage Radio actually aired it. So that was pretty cool to hear, So Setting Hearts on Fire, if you haven't heard it, go check it out. Aside from that, Through the Storm is a pretty good one. It's got a pretty special place in my heart. Basically, saying that whatever you're going through, as long as you just keep going and hold your head up and stay strong, like, you will get through it. Before that, there's, like I said, a couple fun ones, Sell Out, and TikTok Fans. Like I said, they're on the funnier side. It's also just kind of my way of venting, if you will. So yeah, they're kind of upbeat. Take a listen to those. And then the Sinner Like Me EP has At the Cross, what is it, Winding Road, a few different songs that have some pretty deep meaning. Again, falling in line with the, recovery and, the addiction and everything. So, yeah, that's what's out there right now. Like I said, we're constantly working on new music, so just look out for that.
Sounds good. I guess, are you on all the major streaming platforms like Spotify and all those other ones?
Yes, sir.
All right, sounds good. Yeah,
Spotify, YouTube, Pandora, Amazon, Apple, all that.
all right, sounds good. They're from this guy right here, so make sure you guys go check out his music and help this guy out too. This guy's doing wonders out in the world. So, Jeff, let's go ahead and jump to the fun questions right now. Ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Let's start with the first one right here. I guess, what would you consider as your favorite food?
Oh, that's a tough one. I've actually thought about this. Off the top of my head, I'm gonna have to say Chinese. um, I don't know, man. Somewhere between Chinese and just deep fried chicken. I'm a Southern boy at heart, so that's it's a toss up.
So yeah, you need that Southern hospitality every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. I guess, so what sort of Chinese food do you like? Because mine's normally chicken fried rice with some General Tso's.
Honestly, growing up, General Tso's was definitely my all-time favorite. As I've gotten older, I tend to like the more, I don't know if you call it meaty or smoky flavor, like what is it? Not like teriyaki chicken, or just I think it's pepper chicken, or I can't remember what it's called, but yeah. I don't know. It's all good, man.
Yeah. Actually, I actually got back into eating crab rangoons from one of my local Chinese restaurants. So
absolutely love those.
Actually, not exactly filled with them, but they're like these big triangles with like a pyramid golden shaped color. So
for me, those are dessert. Save the best for last.
Yeah.
They could be appetizers, main course, dessert. However you want to do it.
I do remember they used to put them in those boxes that you would normally get because, like, similar to how cheese sticks, fries, and like all those other ones that come in like their own separate packaging.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have it. They were a lot smaller, but they were damn good. But man, you had to at least wait for those babies to cool before you ate them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they definitely hurt if you don't let them cool off.
It'll burn a hole in your mouth, that's for sure.
For sure.
All right. And for the next one, what would you consider as your favorite movie?
Now that is a tough one. Honestly, probably the one closest to my heart would be The Outsiders. Originally a book I actually read in, I think it was 7th grade reading class. We read it as a project, and I ended up reading it like 6 more times after we were like done with the project, and ended up going out and buying the movie. And then it had like the whole cast, like Tom Cruise and what was his name, Ralph Macchio, like the Karate Kid, and God, I'm drawing a blank right now, but it definitely had an all-star cast, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, fell in love with the book, fell in love with the movie. So yeah, definitely The Outsiders, hands down.
I think I was getting confused with something else. I think it was called The Others or something like that. I was going to remember. I think I know which one you're talking about too. So,
like the Greasers and all that.
Oh, really? I'll check it out. I'll have to see what happens. I had to think about it too because I had to see. All right. And in terms of drinks too, I guess, what would you say is your favorite non-alcoholic drink?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't know, man. I'm so indecisive. It's ridiculous. I probably should drink more water, which I actually am getting more in the habit of. I like monster coffees. Salted caramel, to be exact. Rockstars, Mountain Dew. I do drink way too much Mountain Dew at work. It's a toss-up, really.
Are you more of the Baja Blast, or do you like the regular Mountain Dew?
Oh, I love the Baja Blast. Unfortunately, the store that I normally get them at, Funny story, actually. So they just brought the Baja Blast back, and I went in there like a couple days in a row and bought some, and then I think the next day I go in and I grab one, not thinking about it, and I got to work and I started drinking it. I was like, why does this taste like? I'm trying not to cuss on the show, but yeah, it just didn't taste right. And I looked and noticed that it was the zero sugar, and I'm like, oh, what is this? So, um, yeah, needless to say that went in the trash. Aside from that, I think Livewire, the orange one, would probably be my favorite. And also, it's a great Motley Crue song, you know? So,
Yeah. The live wire. That's our
yep.
one, yeah. And
Every time I get it, I'm like, yeah.
just jammed to that song too as well.
Yeah.
There's definitely like a zero sugar drink just to ruin your day too. So
Oh, I'm telling you, man.
they actually do a Baja Blast zero sugar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shame, really. But it's a thing.
I was like, man, that's actually pretty shocking too. I always thought they did that one straight all the time. So
That's what I thought. That's why I didn't really think anything of it when I just grabbed it, you know. And I noticed the color of it was a little different. So I'm like, it's kind of off, but I didn't really think anything of it until I took a sip of it. And I'm just like, did I leave this like sitting out too long? I don't know what happened there. And then I looked at it and it was zero sugar. And I'm like, all right, won't be doing that again.
Needless to say, they heard the mouth of Hades cussing out all the coworkers as well. So
Yeah.
it put him in a bad mood for the rest of the day too, and just did not want to deal with anybody. So I can imagine that's one of those short story moments.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just, it wasn't great.
Yeah, I know what you mean too. Sorry I had to go through that, but hey, live and learn.
Life happens.
Yeah. And for last fun questions, what would you say is currently your favorite song or a song you've been listening to a good bit recently?
Oh, man. That is a tough one. Like, the rest of the questions were, but I don't know, man. I listen to everything. But more recently, it's still a toss up. But My Name is Human by The Highly Suspect has definitely been on repeat on my playlist. Or anything from the Mechanical Animals album by Manson. That's definitely been on repeat a lot lately.
You just struck me like it would blast like the beautiful people in your car, to be honest.
Well, that's a good one, man. Honestly, though, I think, I don't know. I love all of his music. Most of his music. I don't know. For some reason, for me, man, Mechanical Animals just sticks out to me. Just the whole vibe of it. It's got this weird, like, rock, like, spacey, just dreamy. I don't know, man. It's hard to describe, but I don't know. It just makes you feel some kind of way.
Yeah, he's gonna do that too.
For sure. Actually, that album, well, most of the music and like the beats and everything, kind of inspired the music behind Angels Calling. Like you can, I don't know if anybody else can, tell or notice it, but there are, I think, some similarities between the guitar riffs and the beat in Angels Calling and, well, anything off of that album.
I would say I think the first thing that came to mind was actually Angel's Son. That was by one of the alternative rock groups, Seven Dust. Ever heard of that one?
Yep, for sure.
That was my first guess, but obviously it seems he took a different approach too, so that's all cool.
For sure.
All right. So, Jeff, we're near the end of my podcast right here. We're down to one more question. Before we jump into it, did you have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
I don't know, man. Honestly, I just want to say thank you to everybody that listens and shares and, actually takes interest in what Letters from Saints is about. It means more to me than a lot of people might think. Is that music is everything to me, and to be able to share that with the world is just the coolest thing ever. So thank you.
Absolutely. So the last question right here, you might touch on it a little bit too, but just to kind of reiterate. And hold on a sec.
Okay.
All right, need to get that cough out of the way. There.
You're good.
So, given what COVID has done, obviously, you've been through a lot right now. Been stuck in prison. Got a little brush with it too, but it seems like you came out bigger and stronger too. So, what's our message of hope can you give to musicians and people out there as we try to move forward in the post-COVID world for those who are technically struggling?
For sure. Well, honestly, things have definitely changed since COVID, as far as, getting back out into the world and, just trying to do things like publicly like that. Just kind of the same advice as before. Just don't give up, and, just keep fighting and keep working hard, and it'll work out. Like I try to be a pretty optimistic person in any situation, especially for something like that. I know a lot of people are still kind of coming back from the whole COVID situation. Like I said, man, just keep going. Don't give up. It will get better.
Spoken like a true prodigy. All right. So thank you so much for sharing that, Jeff. And we've reached the end of my podcast right here. So it's all good and everything. And boy, we talked for a good hour. So that's all good and everything too. So I guess, did you have any final words? Any shout outs you want to give before we close?
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me on and listening to what I have to say. I was definitely nervous. This is the first time I'm doing anything like this. So apologize if I was awkward or weird. I just want to say thank you again for having me on and listening. And again, thank you to everybody who listens and, follows and likes and shares. It means the world to me. So thank you very much.
That's good to hear. And don't worry about it. I'm a little socially awkward as well. At least very bad introverted, I should say. But this podcasting and this sort of stuff, it really helps too. So
for sure. It was like
same thing, yeah.
I'm like drinking my water, trying to like stay hydrated, and I'm like my mouth's dry, and I'm like licking my lips, and I'm just like, man, stop doing that, and just whatever, man.
It's all good though. But thank you again so much again for coming on here, Jeff. And
thank you for having me.
And everyone, my guest today was Jeff Plemmons, hailing from South Dakota right here. He's part of the band Letters from Saints. And go check out his music on all the socials and everything too. Mentioned it earlier when he was doing his promotion too, so no need to repeat that. So we're all good there. So, Jeff, yes, normally that's how we're supposed to end it too. So I'm jumping around the script a little bit too. So I'll just go ahead and end it right here. So, Jeff, you stay safe. Rock on. God bless you, man. And stay tuned, y'all.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you.